Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 82 of Build Your Stash and Craft. This week we are going to make a mini Phat book. That's kind of an oxymoron, mini and fat, but that's what we're going to do. So to start out with, we are going to take our paper tape, and you can't really see it. Well, you can see kind of over here. I've already got some put on here. We're just going to take some of our paper tape, and there's no exact amount, just however much you want to. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be my 5th row. And at the very beginning, I've got it folded over just so that I can get a hold of it. And we're just going to put a few rows on a piece of our parchment paper. And then this is easier to cut than it is to rip. It just kind of stretches and wrinkles and everything if you try and rip it. And then make sure that you fold it over before you put it away, because that'll make it easier to get a hold of it. Really is hard to get a hold of if you don't do that. Okay, so we've got some tape on our pad here, and then what we're going to do is take one of our mini composition books, and I saw Crystal with Art It Out do this. I saw well, actually, Crystal's the only one I can remember, but there's a whole bunch of people that do this. They're doing them with regular size composition books, but I'm just going to do it with one of these mini ones. And what you do to start with is you just take your paper and just scrunch it up. And what this is going to do is it's going to make your mini book fat right from the beginning. And then it gives you texture on your pages, and they just look really cool. So we're just going to do it. You can do it a few pages at a time. I like it with kind of lots of wrinkles, so I do it one page at a time because they get more wrinkly that way. And just go through the whole book. There's no real rhyme nor reason to it. And no right or wrong way to do it. If you get little tatters on your edges or anything, that's no big deal. And the reason that I chose the mini composition book is because to me it's just easier to work with a smaller page. And also there's only 50 pages in these books, and the big composition books have 100 pages, and I really just didn't want to deal with 100 pages. So you just go ahead and do that, and then just straighten them out. Now we squish them that way. You can also kind of squish them a little bit sideways. Just kind of go in and give them a few squishes. If you have any that when you're unfolding them that you think, well, that one doesn't hardly have any wrinkles in it, you can just wrinkle them up even more. And then once you get them all squished, you just straighten them back out. And we're doing this real time so that you can see that even though this seems like it might be a lot, it really doesn't take very long to do this at all. And because you don't have to be super careful or anything, then it just goes along so much faster. I do like to make sure that I get my corners opened back out again. And then we're going to just put some color on the pages. So, and at the same time that we're putting color on our pages, we're going to make our washi tape to put on some of the edges. Not all of the edges. Of course, you could make enough washi tape to put on all of the edges if you wanted to. But I just put it on every few here and there. And we'll need some of our string that we dyed, or otherwise you can use the strings that you had left from pulling your burlap flowers. You can use some of the crochet thread that we got a few weeks ago. You can use anything, but you're going to want something to tie the book together. So that's what helps hold it together, being that it's going to be a Phat book. And also you leave it hang off the edges, so it gives you an automatic tassel. You can, when you're all done, you can put some of your beads on there. You don't want to do that ahead of, like at the beginning, because then those beads will be in your way as you're trying to decorate your book. But when you're all done, you can add some of your homemade beads to that. And we're almost back to the beginning. We're at like 5 minutes, so, like I said, this really does not take long at all. It's actually quite therapeutic. It's just a nice way to art without thinking about it, and there we go. Now, our mini composition book is a Phat book, just like that. So what we're going to do now is, first thing, we're going to tie our book together. And you just find the center, because these books are sewed together, so you'll be able to figure out when you get to the center. When you see the string. Where it's sewed together. Well, I don't know. There we go. Oh, it's right there. Okay. So see, you can see that the string is solidly right here. There is our center. So I'm just going to take, and they tie them together. Everyone I saw ties them together at least 5 times. And so you just start in the middle. And then I just kind of even my string up so that it's, after I tie it together, it's going to hang about the same. And because this string has been painted, it does grab itself nicely so that you can get that knot nice and tight, because you're going to want it to be good and tight. And then just let the extra just hang over the edge. And then what you do is you just divide each side into 3 sections, so that you'll have 2 more spots to tie your string on. And there's no exact amount, just take off some and then just kind of say, oh, this is about halfway. We'll put one there and one there. So I'm going to just put that on there and tie that up. And just kind of try and keep your knots right in the center. And what I mean by that is try and keep your threads where the binding is here as best as you can. I'll put a red one next to the yellow. And then 2 more on the other side, and we'll be all done. Just kind of split what's left in half. And tie this on here. But I did one the other day just to get it started and to see how I liked it, and if I liked it with the mini composition book. And I really did, and I really enjoyed doing it. So I thought that we would do one, and also it gives us a place to put little art projects that we do. You can glue them in there. Okay, we've got that side done. So now we'll just do the last 2 on the other side. Oh. Okay, so there's our middle, so I'm going to go right about here. If you want, you can count them to make them exact. But it's just to kind of hold the book together, keep your other strings out of the way. And so you don't have to have an exact count unless that's going to bother you. It used to be, it would have bothered me. I would have had to have counted. I would have had to have made sure that everything was exact. And there we go. But I am getting to the point where I can let go of that. Things don't need to be exactly perfect. Sometimes. This is our last one. Just going to put that one in there. And these strings I didn't measure, so they're not the different colors are not the same length. Just don't want to tie them in there. And that's totally fine. You can cut them the same length when you're done if you want to. You can leave them different lengths. Whatever makes you happy. And there we go. So now we've got our strings on there. Move them all kind of to the middle of the spine. And that's what the spine looks like. And there's your strings on there. The only thing I'm going to do is the ones that are a lot longer than the book, I'm going to cut those off so that they don't get in my way. Okay, so now we have all of the construction portion done, and now we just play with it. Now the ink pads that we got, I saw a lot of people that were doing it were using different ink pads, and we don't have, well, we have our big ones, but they were using their mini ink pads, so I did pick up a couple. And you just take them and rub them across the page. Now, this ink pad was super dry when I did my first book, so I just went in and put just a few squirts of water on it, and obviously it's not dry anymore. Remember that if you have a water-based ink, if you have not used up the ink, it means it's there and it's just dry, and you can reconstitute it with water. If you have an alcohol-based ink, you can reconstitute it with rubbing alcohol. And that goes for your ink pens and everything, your markers and everything. So if it's dried out and you're going to throw it away anyways, then it can't hurt to try it. And there, I'm just randomly, see, we're drying out again already. Just randomly picking pages and kind of going every other side if I remember to, and if I don't, it doesn't matter. There's no right way, and nobody's going to go through this book and see if I did it every other side. That's part of the thing. When you make something you think, oh, that's not perfect, you're probably the only one that's ever going to notice it. So yeah, these did turn out to be turquoise and blue. And I try to not put the inks necessarily next to each other, because we're going to do some paints too. So I don't want everything to be all the same. I don't want it to be like blue on one side, turquoise on the other. But if that's where it opens up to, I can just do it that way. And once you get as much of the ink on as you want, let's ink the very last page. Then we're going to go to our paints. The only thing is you don't want to get these books super wet. So you're going to want to do dry techniques, like the ink pad straight to the paper and the paint straight to the paper with a sponge instead of with a paintbrush, because I got fuzzies all over here. And then I'm going to hold these shut and give them a shake. There we go, because you don't want those lids accidentally opening. And then we're going to use our sponges, and we're going to pick up our paint. And because we don't want this to be real wet in the book, we are going to take our paint and we're going to put some of it on our tape down here. Move this over a little bit. Start back at the beginning of the book. And then we're just going to put on some paint. Now we're not covering the whole page. We're just getting the pages started. And pretty much because you're using a dry sponge, you have to get new paint each time that you get to a new page. So because there's not enough paint really to go any further than just one page. Or sometimes I would take a lot of paint like that and kind of just wipe it off in one spot. And then what I can do is go pick it back up like that. And if you get too much on there, that you know, oh, that's too much, I just needed a little. No, there is no too much. There's not too little. And you're just going to take all of your colors and go through just like this. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of the yellow out of my lid, close that up because I have as many yellow pages as I want, and I'm just going to put a little bit more yellow around on my washi tape so that I have a little bit of it on each piece of washi tape. And then we're just going to move on to the orange. Change your sponge each time, and that so that you don't mix your colors, and you're going to just go through randomly like this. So when you're done, or at least when I was done, I did go back in and make sure that I got color on every page. So I went through and did a few more yellows and a few more oranges for whatever pages that I missed. So originally, oops, I don't want to put that wet paint on there. And see here, it's very light, and on some of the other ones it was a little darker, and that's all just exactly how you want it to be. I'm going to get some of my strings, and that's okay too. The strings are already painted, so it's not going to hurt to get a little more paint on them. But you do want to put your strings in beforehand so that you don't start getting your book too loose and working apart those threads, because then it will be harder to keep it together. A little bit more orange. And I really like the way that these washi tapes come out, because this paint is very translucent, and so is the paper tape. So you get a really translucent washi tape with these. Oh, and I wanted to show you, if you have a sponge that you've already used and now it's got hard, don't throw it away. I was going to go over there so when it goes flying. There we go. Cut it off. Now you've got a brand new sponge to use, and it makes them last a whole lot longer. Let's start right back at the front again. And I got a little bit of extra paint on there, but a little bit more than I would want because it's a little wet. And then what you do is you just let it dry for just a little bit when you're all done. And really a little bit, like, I mean, I just set it aside for a few minutes and kind of clean things up, and then start it all over again, putting on my washi tape. So you don't, because everything is so dry to start with, you know, you're not really putting anything super wet. It's not really sticking to the other pages. It's not taking a whole long time to dry. And so you can just keep right on moving. And if you want, you can even go through and do a few pages with more than one color on them. It doesn't have to be just one color per page. And this one's got kind of some orange and some pink on it because I must have picked up a little bit of orange over here. And there we go. Now this is 3 colors down, 3 colors to go. Just going to put this around a little bit. And actually that's it. I'm done with the pink. So now I'm going to go to the next 3 colors, and I will put those 3 colors in exactly like I've just done these 3, along with adding them to my washi tape, and then I'll be back. Okay, I am back, and I now have color on all of my pages, and I have color on my washi tape. And I made sure as I changed colors that I just went to spots on the washi tape that was blank. And then at the very end, I looked to make sure there weren't any clear spots, and if there was, I just gave it a touch. But it pretty much was all covered. And then when I went through to check my pages, every so often I would just put a little extra color onto a page that I just wanted to. And so some of the pages have a couple of colors, like this yellow one here. It's got a lot of blank spots, and all of these sponges still have paint in them. Even though they're basically dry to do like this, if you give them a bit of a squish, they are a sponge, and they do have paint. Now, I've pretty much used most of it now after going through the book and adding a little bit to different pages as I went. But that's what I did. I just went through and said, you know, oh, now see, that's got a little bit more interest to it, a little bit more color. This one's kind of pink and turquoise. So I just did that. And so now we've got our book here. And the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to put washi tape on it. So I'm going to really quickly, it's got a few little sponge parts on there, so I'm going to get that off. And so we're just going to take the washi tape and cut it about the same size as the book. Now this end I don't really care for, so I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it up like this. I'm going to just randomly grab a page. Well, actually, first I do want washi tape right on the very first page. So I'm going to go ahead and put it about halfway onto the page. Cut it off, and I kind of messed up my page there a little bit, so I'm going to go back and straighten that out, and then just fold it over. And there we go. Now, doesn't that really look pretty? And then I'm just going to kind of go in and grab another page and do the same thing. Peel this right off, go right about halfway, and cut it before you fold it so that you don't mess up what you have left of your tape. And I'm going to hurry here, and I'm going to turn that tape into a knot. And there we go. But the really cool thing about this too is even with all of that color, you can still see the lines through the washi tape. So it really looks a lot like the original washi tape, which I think really is some type of a paper tape, because it is more see-through than what we tend to get here. Okay, just put that one on there. And this just really decorates it up right from the start. Okay, now this piece is too short, so I'm going to set that aside. Whoops, well, I was going to. And then we are going to go and put that, where's that last one? Oh, here, I need to trim this off. We're going to put that on, we're just going to randomly pick the top of a few pages and put the little bits that we have, even though they're going to be different sizes, we're not going to cut them. We're just going to stick them on the book. This very first part doesn't have any color on it. Take that off. And let's put this one right here. Oops, I'm way too short, so I need to move it down. Things don't need to be perfect, but some things will bother me, and being too short, that would bother me. Okay, cut that off. Well, now I've made a mess because I folded that over. There we go. Okay. You do have to be careful. This paper tape is very sticky, so I think it's going to last really well. Just randomly grab a page. I don't want the corner to be folded over, so I'm going to unfold the corner on this. There we go. And they don't all have to be exactly the same, exactly in the middle. Nobody's going to measure. If you think they will measure, then just make sure there's no ruler around. There we go. And what I'm going to do is just continue. I still have 3 more pieces of washi here. And I'm almost to the back of the book, so I'll be able to just kind of go back through and put some in between. Well, here's our last little piece. I'm going to stick that up here until I get all of the edges done. I'm going to finish putting this washi tape on here, and then I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and we almost have our complete base done for our book. One thing that I did want to show you really quickly is when you're cutting your tape, and you have to cut it at both ends. However, it's the easiest, for me, the easiest way to cut it is to come in from the side here and cut this way, because I want to round my corners. Because the pages are rounded and I like the looks of rounded. But then instead of trying to go and do this or whatever, do every page on that side of the book. Just like that. I have one more here. And then once you've got all of them done on that side, then flip your book over. And you can do the ones on the other side exactly the same way. So, because, and I know that sounds silly to say this, but I mean, I have done it where I flip the book back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it's just easier to just go in and do them all one right after another one way, and then flip the book over and do all of the rest. And there we go. So, now this is what it looks like with our edges on it, and you can see even that tape has brightened up the edges. And this is what the pages look like with the washi tape on it. Every few pages. I didn't count them. I just randomly stuck them in. I had 2 pieces left, so I went and looked at where was there any place that was like a really big gap and stuck those last 2 pieces in there. So they're not evenly spaced and they're not supposed to be. But if you wish, you can do it that way. So that's what those look like. And then we had 5 pieces of washi, so I just have 5 little pieces left. I cut off the folded over part, and I'm just going to randomly go in and pick a page and put it on there. And so then we'll have a little bit of color at the top of our book. And I am spacing them apart, but I'm not counting pages or making sure it's even or looking at the color of the page. I'm just grabbing one and sticking the tape on there. They're not exactly the same sizes, and I'm not putting them front to back in any certain way. I'm just sticking them on there. And if you wanted, oh, I think that's shaking. Sorry if that's shaking the camera. I just saw it shake. I stuck the tape to my tripod. And then one other thing that I did not do in the first one that I made, on the very last page, when I went to put my washi tape on the very last, I do like to have washi on the last page and the first page. That's my only thing. But when I went to do the last page, I thought, oh, what the heck? I'll tape the last 2 pages together. So I did bottom and side, so that there's a little pocket in the back. And you actually could do that throughout the book if you want to. So now these pages are kind of thin, but by the time you collage something on there, or if you want to use it as an ATC book, you can make your ATCs and then go ahead and glue them in after you've made them. So you can do it however you would like, but this is what it looks like. Here is the first one that I made. This one, because it is still wet, it's not quite as fluffy as this one. So, but as it dries, the paper crinkles a little bit more, and it stays kind of where it is. So that is our mini Phat book. And I just think they're really great. And like I said, if you want to do a big book, they really are fun to do. And it really is just kind of just slapping stuff on there, it's just really kind of soothing to do that. So I hope that you like that project. And for next week, what we are going to need is, I got this at Walmart for $4.97. It is wall covering and border adhesive. This is wallpaper glue. It is liquid. And now it does say on here it goes on pink and it dries clear. I was afraid that that might cause us a problem, but it does not. So if you see that and think, oh no, I'm supposed to get clear, this does say it goes on pink, dries clear. It's from Zinsser. I got it at Walmart, and it's wallpaper and border adhesive. We're going to make paste paper next week. So we will need this for $5, and we're going to have to spend $1 out of our bank, and from the Dollar Tree, pick up a pack of foam brushes. We'll also need our paints, some paper, old what do you call it, like debit cards, credit cards, room keys, the plastic kind of cards. You want them to be plastic, but if you can't find one of those, you don't have one of those, just a sturdy piece of chipboard. So a heavy cereal box or a heavy, food box of some sort that's a little bit thick that you'll be able to use over and over before it gets too soggy. So that's what we'll need for next week, and next week we're going to make paste paper. So I really had fun making this project this week. I hope that you try one. It really, really is fun, and there's a bunch of them out there. If you go and you look, and everybody does things a little bit differently, but there's no rules, so it's very, very fun. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate you stopping by. I hope that you make one of these for yourself. They really are a blast, and I hope that you have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.